I've come across so many people who are your supporters, and virtually every single one of them says you actually won the last election in 2023. Do you agree? Do you agree that there was some creative accounting and that you were deprived of victory?
Well, I've mentioned it immediately after the election that we won the election. But because of the manipulation, the rigging, and all sorts of things that shouldn't be associated with a decent election, we lost.
And so you say manipulation. I mean, are we talking about basic vote rigging? Are we talking stuffing ballot boxes? What are we talking about? What kind
I would say all sorts. In some states, people were not even allowed to be where they're doing collection. People were chased out of polling booths. So you see people saying we don't have polling booth agents. But actually we have. But for one reason or the other, they were compromised, they were chased out. So that's all sorts of things. But for me, that is past.
It's past?
Yes.
Well, for me, it's not past, sir, because I am one of the Obedience who is still quite angry with you for not telling us to take to the streets. But I believe that if at that critical juncture we had come out and fought, hand-to-hand combat if necessary, you would be president of Nigeria today. Am I being unrealistic?
Well, I can tell you that if I come out to fight or do anything, it will actually be more negative against us. Because you're dealing with people who are already expecting such to have it as a basis to do worse. So the only way is we followed, and I still believe in it, due process of the law, and we followed it to its logical conclusion.
So that was then. I take it you are going to run for 2027. What's different now then? Because last time you ran against Tinubu, this time you'll be running against Tinubu. What's changed?
Well, I believe and I hope that we'll have an electoral amendment of some of the rules, some of the laws, in order to make it our election more efficient, more accountable, and everything. And I believe that the Nigerian citizens at this time will behave differently.
How?
Because seeing what they're going through. So what you had asked in the past, that people taking to the streets and everything, I believe they're now seeing the effect of not having the person they voted for.
Many people are describing Nigeria at the moment as descending into a kind of one-party state. Is that how you see the situation at the moment? What's your assessment?
Well, because our politics is very transactional, I don't expect otherwise. But I can tell you, the election that is coming in 2027 will not be about parties. It will be about individuals. People will be voted based on their own record. It will no longer be a situation where we've taken enough of fake promises or people who use tribe, religion, all sorts of ways to come into office. So I believe that 2027, Nigerians will see that we voted religion, we voted tribe. Now let's vote competence, capacity.
What will be the role then of parties? I mean, as I understand it,
the parties will be there.
Horse trading at the moment.
The parties will be there. But that will not be what will determine the next election. It will be the candidates. What is the candidate offering?
That rhymes with what Senator Ali Ndume said yesterday or recently, where he said that politicians are defecting to APC, but the voters are not defecting.
That's exactly what it is, because the voters are hungry. The politicians are going to where they'll get more money for themselves, but the voters are saying no. Everybody can see what is happening in the country.
What did you make of the recent Financial Times article, which seems to have given this government a bit of a boost? I mean, Financial Times is a respected international journal, and I was quite taken aback by the article in which they said Tinubu was doing well, or going in the right direction at least.
Well, I don't want to comment on newspaper comments, because if you do that, they'll be good.
But do you think Tinubu is doing anything right? Because that article seemed to say he was doing a lot of things right, in the right direction. Okay, do we say he's doing anything right?
Well, the only way to know whether things are right or wrong is it is not for me and you to assess. It's go to the people. Look at the figures that are out there. Our GDP is half of what it was when he came into office. It was about $364 billion. Today is about 188. Our per capita is not half of what it is. We now have, it was 1,600 and something on May 20, when it was. Today is about $807. So where do you measure? We are now one of the hungriest countries of the world. Cannot feed themselves. Our health, education, everything have deteriorated.
What would you have done differently? I mean, you've said publicly that you would have devalued the Naira, you would have reduced the subsidy on fuel.
I said it and I repeat, it would have been done in a very organized manner. First is that there was a corruption, huge corruption associated with the subsidy. You deal with it. If you deal with, if it was dealt with stakeholders involved, the cost today of fuel will be in region of about 500, 600. Same thing goes with the Naira. You do a gradual devaluation. If you had done it, because we have issue of productivity, the idea of devaluing your currency or floating it is that you want to open it up for market purposes, for people to export more. But when you have nothing to sell, nothing to export, and you open it up, you have a double whammy situation. And people have said, how are you going to deal with the issue of productivity? Of course, we have industries that they were functionally here. You help them to have at least a more manageable operating environment. They are the people who are supposed to give support, rebates, the energy and everything, ensure that their funding cost is appropriate, support them in various ways. And when we talk about issue of floating the Naira or Naira devaluation, we forget that one of the things that is fueling the differential in Naira is illicit money, corruption. The purpose of money is the exchange of value. In a corrupt environment, there's no exchange of value. So people have made too much money, which they didn't offer anything in return. So if you have something they offer in return, you find out that the rate of Naira well managed, they should not be more than 1,000 Naira to $1. And from there, over the past 2 years, you are supporting aggressively production in the agriculture, which today if we're able to tackle insecurity head on, farmers will go back, powers go back, deal with the issue of power, invest in skill training.
Nigeria has so many seemingly intractable problems because the problems you've just outlined have been around for as long as I've been around. Why do you want to be president?
Well, there's problem all over the world. In the Western world, developed world, developing, there's a problem everywhere. The purpose of a leader is to solve problems, not to give excuses, not to complain. I chose to serve because I think I have an idea of what we can do. If I was there, we're going to have a national plan that will be cascade to state, to local government. Luckily, we have a global plan. From year 2000 to year 2015, there was Millennium Development Goals, which I've said severally. Most nations of the world make sure they used it, it's related in their planning, their budgeting, and everything. Look at the impact it did in China, where 439 million people were put out of poverty. Look at the impact in India. Look at the impact in Vietnam. I can go on and tell you countries that when that finished, we went into SDG.
Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes. Which again, is also for you to adopt it into your own development agenda and follow it through in your planning, budgeting, execution, and make it measurable. But here, there's no clear national plan that every Nigerian can say, this is where we're going to. So it's more of like people who you get up, you drive this way, you drive this way. If you don't know where you're going, every road will lead you there because there's no direction. But if we had a national plan and say, we are going to tackle the first fundamental thing, education. Why do we have 18 million children out of school? What is wrong? Let's invest in education. Let's deal with the issue of insecurity. Let's deal with the issue of poverty. Critical areas. These are, every other country went through it. We're not alone. But why are other people achieving results? I want to achieve results.
So, let me take you back to the two thorny issues. You've already mentioned one of them. Let's just first security, secondly power. You see, security, everybody knows that security creates a perfect landscape for development. You can't go far without it. What would you do? What is wrong? Why can't we get the remaining Chibok girls back? Why can't we protect farmers? What is wrong? Is it corruption in the armed forces? Is it disorganization? What do you ascribe it to?
All of it. All of it. If you have a government that is determined to deal with it, they'll deal with it.
What would you do?
What will I do? I will put in more in terms of funding, manpower, and whatever it will take to protect.
Okay, so how do you root out corrupt elements who are benefiting from the breakdown in law and order? Because there are.
I've always said that you can fight corruption.
Right.
Easily.
How?
If you are not stealing, your family is not stealing, those around you are not stealing, you reduce it by 60%.
But corruption always fights back.
No, you only fight back if you are involved.
Okay.
If you're not involved, there's no fighting back. I've held public life, and I know that you can insist and do the right thing.
Yeah. So the second thing is power. Again, you can't go anywhere until they stop taking like 10 times a day. or charging so much for electricity?
Well, like I've always said about the issue of power, go and study the countries that have done very wonderful improvement in power between 2015 and 2020. It's India, Vietnam, and Egypt. What did Egypt do? I was there for days studying what they're doing. It is not rocket science. In fact, this government said if they don't give Nigeria steady power in 4 years, nobody should vote for them again. So what I expected that by now they should have been telling us that we made 5,000, we are now at 8,000 to show the improvement. But it's gotten worse. The only thing that increased in power is the tariff.
Yes.
Even with the high tariff, we're not paying for darkness.
Yes.
So these are things other people have done it. South Africa had issue of power, Egypt had issue of power, and they have aggressively solved it. Some people have said all sorts of things. That, oh, it's those who are selling generators. It's those who are doing this. Today, more generators are sold in the UK than in Nigeria. Yes. Can go and check your records.
What for? What do they use them for?
Because people keep it as a standby. They don't use it. I'm not saying so that those who are selling generators are not our cause. It is that we're not doing the right thing.
What about transport? There's so many things. Almost everything is wrong. You know, when the British left here, I may have said this before, they left us with, I think it was 5,070 kilometers of working rail track. And then by the time Dr. Osekibo became minister in 2003, there was no working rail track. So not only had we completely messed up the system the British left us with in 1960, but we had not added a single inch to it. I just see transport as a critical factor. Do you?
It is a very critical factor. Very, very, because people have to move.
And
have to move to go to work, have to move goods, have to move this and everything. And if you look at those tracks which you mentioned, they were actually built for places where there's produce.
Yes.
So you could see rail to Kafanchan, because there was abundance of ginger and everything. You see rail to Kanu, rail to Maiduguri. They were to connect areas of productivity. But we abandoned them because of the transactional life we live today. There's no productivity. So what we do is to wake up in the morning looking for or to consume, not to create.